Hello, friends from Five Reasons. Welcome back to our Marlins report from this week. Like we promised, now we're gonna do the review of all the free agents that are available that the Marlins might be looking up into it in the next couple of days. We already talked about Kim and G, and we don't know what the plan is going to be. But for now, what we can do is speculate. So with me today, David Fernandez and Christian Chase. So we're gonna be talking a little bit about free agency and all the fun this is because that's not our money. So we can bring anybody, right? We can pay Remuto, Springer, and Bauer and build a great team here for the Marlins, and hopefully that's what happens. So, how are you guys? Before we get into it, how are you, David? How are you, Christian?
Good, man. Good. I'm doing all right. We've published a couple Marlins pieces up on the Five Reasons Sports.com site. Christian had a piece about what it means for the Marlins to have added Kim Ng that everybody should check out. I posted an article called Marlins Offseason Primer that kind of leads us right into this discussion. But yeah, man, I mean, it's an exciting time, as we've said before, and really, really interested to see what the Marlins do here over the course of the next couple of weeks and months.
How are you feeling, Christian?
Good. I'm excited to see how everything goes. I don't have any slightest clue as to where Kimming is going to take this team, but I don't think a lot of us do. So I guess we can speculate and hope that we get these big names now, because come 3 days from now, we could know that this is not the route they're taking. But might as well enjoy it while it's a possibility.
Yeah, right now
Wild
we can say
speculation.
anything and we will
That's right.
maybe be right. So let's do it. Let's do it and have some fun here. We're gonna use, by the way, this Fangraphs special work that they've done there in their website. So we're gonna be going through their entire list, so you guys can go and check it out for more details over there on Fangraphs. So let's go ahead and start right along with them with JT Realmuto. Let's straight to the heart. Can we actually get JT Realmuto to come back to South Florida? South Florida. I'm glad I didn't say South Beach because now every major sports outlet says South Beach. South
Yeah.
Florida. JT Realmuto, is that a possibility? Can we come back for a second shot at it?
I mean, that would be something, right? I mean, top free agent in the market. They're making history, making moves with the addition of Kim Ang, right, to the GM position. And to have brought to bring back somebody like Real Muto would solve a lot of the issues that this lineup has, right? I mean, there was obviously very little faith in Jorge Alfaro in the postseason. He lost his spot to Chad Wallach, and all due respect to Chad Wallach, he's not the starting catcher for a playoff team. And Real Muto would bring a consistent bat, somebody who can run a little bit, can produce in the middle of the lineup, and it would be something. I guess the big question is how much money is Real Muto looking for, and whatever that number is that something that the Marlins are willing to pay? That's those are kind of the big
So
what ifs.
So this is the contract estimate for the guys on Fangraphs. It goes from 104 millions for about 5 years to 140 millions for 6 years. That's about. I mean, it's between 21.4 millions and 23.3 millions. Is that realistic for the Marlins, Christian?
No. I'll be honest. I mean, JT Realmuto is a great player. Obviously, we saw him in a Miami uniform before, and he produced for us just as he produced for the Phillies. I think his best attributes are not at the plate; they're more on the defensive end. He's a phenomenal pitch framer and saves a bunch of runs per year based off pitch framing, which is a really underrated skill by catchers. It's picking up in popularity, but JT Realmuto has those intangibles. He has the tangibles at the plate. A career 270 hitter, has pop at the plate. Everything you want in a catcher. But for the price that we'd be getting him, I think that there can be a better allocation of funds for this Marlins team. I think there's a lot better veteran options on the market to just pick up and help bring a veteran influence to the team, and we can put this money towards kind of bolstering the bullpen and maybe picking up a different piece that fits better with the culture. Obviously, things ended poorly between JT Realmuto and the Marlins before. And I don't know if he's the right fit for the culture that is developing here in Miami.
Okay, we go to the second one now. We had to get Real Muto out of the way. We, of course, want Real Muto back, but we know it's probably not going to happen. George Springer, another one that's complicated, 31 years old, in this about in the same range as Real Muto. Talking about prices, he's looking for probably his last multi-year contract in his career. So probably not the best fit for the Marlins, right?
Probably not, right? I mean, the good thing about Springer is he could play anywhere in the outfield.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Marlins setup right now, you would assume Starling Marte is going to be in center field. They paid Corey Dickerson to take over in left field, right? Even though he had kind of an underwhelming season, he's on the books for almost $10 million. I think it's like $9.5 million for next year. So the only open spot would be in right field. But the Marlins have so much depth in that outfield, in that outfield group. You think about the guys that played this year, right? Monte Harrison, Lewis Brinson, Mag Sierra. Those are all young players that probably need time. Although Brinson, we probably know what he is at this point. And then beyond that, we saw Jesus Sanchez for a minute. And then even behind Jesus Sanchez, there's guys like Gerard Encarnacion and JJ Bleday that might make some noise in spring training. Who knows? And then on top of that, there's the returning Harold Ramirez, right? He got hurt last year, so he missed time. They could put Garrett Cooper out there, although I don't think that that's an option for them at this point. They might very well pick up a corner outfielder, but I don't know they'd be willing to spend the amount of money that it's going to take to bring in George Springer to play right field. I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me either, to be completely honest with you. I mean, we have so much depth out there, and to spend that much money on a player.
Well, we have some depth. We just don't have as much talent, like
talent, but we don't know the ceiling yet of like Monte Harrison.
Yeah. And we have a lot of promising players, and we'll see.
We have promising players. I just don't think the cost is worth it. Also, I don't see him leaving Houston. Why would you leave? Even though they cheated, why would you leave a team that made it to the ALCS 4 years in a row? It just doesn't make sense to me. He was born and bred there.
Money, maybe.
Yeah, money.
Maybe money.
The Mets are probably after him, hard. The Mets with their new owner. I mean, I think for the Mets, they probably have, their eyes on both Realmuto and George Springer at the top of this free agent list. I mean, we'll see, but I don't know that the Marlins are going to shoot for somebody like. Although, if they did it, it would be forcing those young guys to show that they're MLB ready, right? And they might not be, maybe not yet. Who knows? But
okay, we keep going.
I think he'll get a New York uniform if he's not in a Houston uniform. Either the Mets.
So Mets or Astros, probably. Okay, we'll see. Trevor Bauer, it's the next one. Best pitcher available right now. Are we going to do it quickly? No. Okay.
It's not going to happen. But I just need to I love Trevor Bauer. I think he's the best thing to happen to baseball in years, and he finally got the credit he deserved this year. I mean, his presence on social media, he's poised to be a commissioner when he retires. So I love Trevor Bauer. Unplugged, unreasonable, never gonna happen.
But the Marlins they're not gonna pony up the money that's gonna take to bring down Bauer. And he's a lot of fun on social media and things like interacting with fans, and he would be great down here, and he would really help sort of build that momentum that the team needs with the community and the fan base and things like that. But Fangraphs is estimating as much as like $90 million over 4 years. And I'm not sure that that's something that the Marlins are going to put out there.
Okay. Hopefully, I hope they if I could, I would bring Bauer and then trade some of the young guys. But that's me. Okay. Marcus Semien, it's a surprising number 4 for Fangraphs here in the list. Shortstop, 30 years old. He's probably looking for in between 3 or 4 years. And in between $55 and $64 million. I mean, it's not that crazy if you look into it. Marcus Semien, what do you guys think?
This is actually the first name that I think is a possibility for the Marlins. Okay. I mean, He had, you know, playing in obscurity out there in Oakland with the Athletics, and, you know, people don't realize how good some of those guys are. And you know, Simeon would be a difference maker for the Marlins, right in the middle of, you know, they could drop him right in the middle of the lineup, right? He could hit third. He'll produce. He's a steady glove at shortstop. He would probably, his addition would move Rojas over to second base. And I mean, you'd have an incredible, you know, double team tandem, or double play, sorry, tandem, you know, right up the middle there. And when you think about some of the other shortstops that are available this year, Simeon is 30, right? He's available. But then you also have like Didi Gregorius and Andrelton Simmons. And then, you know, next year there's even more great players on the shortstop market, right? But this is somebody, you know, if the Marlins went, you know, $50 million over 3 years, I think that's a possibility for the Marlins. You know, do they want to, you know, plug him into the middle of the infield and maybe jeopardize the development of Jazz Chisholm and Isan Diaz? Who knows, right? But I do think that this is definitely kind of an under the radar possibility for the Marlins.
That was going to be my same analysis on it. He was the first name that I actually circled on this chart going through. And you're right. When it comes to Oakland, a lot of people forget that those guys are phenomenal baseball players. Marcus Semien, Matt Olson, the names go on in that team, and they show every year. I mean, they're like 20 games over 500 every single year, but it's Oakland, so no one cares. And I think Marcus Semien, us signing him, you're right, for like three years, $50 million or something along those lines, would be a much better option than trading for Francisco Lindor. I mean, I think the play of both of the players are very similar in how they approach the game and, you know, their process and how good they are. Francisco Lindor gets the bigger name recognition because, you know, he was a part of that big Cleveland run a few years back, and he's been a part of a team that gets that national recognition. Whereas Marcus Semien has never been a part of that. I feel like it wouldn't even be that much of a culture change, right? Because they get too much media coverage nationally as well. I mean, the Kim Ng thing is, you know, an outlier. Yeah. But I think Marcus Semien, just with his stats, how good of a player he is, could be a perfect fit for this Marlins team if we're willing to, you know, shell out the money for him. Although he kind of gives me New York Yankee DJ LeMahieu vibes. So there is a chance that happens as well.
Yeah.
There's always that option.
The Yankees are thinking about moving Gleyber Torres back to second since he played way better in that position. And Marcus Semien, we have to remember, he was an MVP finalist a couple of years ago. So he's been there in the mix in the last couple of years, and it would be a very interesting move for the Marlins. The fifth one is Marcell Ozuna, another friend of us, ex-Marlins. He's 30 years old. He's looking for 4 years and at least 17.5 millions per year. So that would bring you to 70 millions for Ozuna, who's listed here as an outfielder, but we all know he just can't throw the ball and he can catch the ball right. So he's just a DH now. What do you think?
Yeah, that's the big one with Ozuna. Will the Marlins have, and it's not just Ozuna, right? Will the Marlins have access to the DH next year? Will the NL use the DH? If they do, then they might very well pursue somebody like Ozuna, you know, bring him back into the fold, you know, fan favorite once upon a time. You know, maybe the most underrated of that outfield group. I mean, obviously, when you're talking about Stanton and Yelich, he probably is number 3, but still an incredible player, an incredible bat, but probably not an outfielder at this point. I would think if the NL doesn't have a DH, he's going to the American League and he's going to DH. Can you put him out there, you know, in right field for, you know, a game, you know, whatever, probably. But he's probably better suited, as you said, for the DH position. And then it comes down to money. Do the Marlins want to pay for that big bat in the middle of the lineup? If he can kind of replicate what he did in 2020, that might be an important pickup for them, because one of the spots where the Marlins offense was sort of lacking the most with homers. They only hit 60 homers last year. I mean, you know, that was 25th most in the league. it was a little less than one home run per game, which was a better clip than the year before. They hit at a smaller clip in 2019. But still, this is a club. If you want to take that next step, they have to score 4.5, 5 runs a game, and you're gonna need a home run to really get to that level. And Ozuna would provide that sort of power bat to the lineup. It just, again, it's going to come down to, do you think the Marlins are going to pony up 70, 75, $80 million over 4 years for somebody like Ozuna?
Yeah. What do you think, Christian? Would you like to see Ozuna coming back?
Not particularly. He is a great bat. He has always been consistent. I believe he has like 3 or 4 top 10 finishes in the NL MVP, which is great. But the stats that stand out to me, like you guys said, are the defensive runs saved. This dude loses 15 runs or so per year just based off his inability to play defense. And in the National League, that is not what we want, especially with the promising names we do have in the outfield. And then that central piece we have in Starling Marte. I don't know if it necessarily seems worth it. I also don't know how sustainable his offensive output was from 2020. I mean, he doesn't walk a lot. He has a 10% walk rate, which for a cleanup hitter is not optimal at all. Free swingers tend to go into massive slumps, and he also strikes out a lot. I mean, 1/4 of his at bats result in strikeouts, which is just not a piece I necessarily would he probably add to the team, sure, but worth the money, I would say no at this point. Just because of those intangibles that a lot of the times the home runs and the RBIs overshadow a lot of the time.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think it's too much money, I guess, for just a hitter. If you were getting a good outfielder, I would get it. But since you're just getting a DH, and I think it's too similar to what happened with JD Martinez, a guy that can hit, and then when you put him in the outfield, it's like, well, I don't know, maybe not. So yeah, I think it'll be. I mean, we need it. We need a hitter anyway, but I don't think it's realistic. So let's go to number 6. This one, I think we're all gonna agree we want him here. DJ LeMahieu. He can play anywhere in the infield almost. He's not listed as a shortstop also, but who knows? One day. And he's looking for 3 years and maybe I guess, let me see, from 10 to 18 millions per year. So it's not that expensive actually. DJ LeMahieu, he's 32 years old right now. Would you get him?
I think it comes down to how many years does he want on his contract, and then how much money does he want on that contract, because he is a useful player, right? Like, as you mentioned, he can play first, he could play second, he could play third. So he would be somebody that would be valuable for Don Mattingly to kind of shuffle around the infield, which is something that Mattingly's had to do quite a bit.
Would you put him at the second baseman and that's it?
I probably would start him there at second base. Yeah.
And then Brian Anderson at third.
Yeah. And then see how it goes. If Anderson needs a day off, you move him over and then you plug in one of the young guys at second. That's the versatility that you have with a player like LeMahieu. We also have something like that in Miguel Rojas, So to add somebody like him, a professional hitter, guy that gets on base at a pretty decent clip, that would be an improvement, I think, for this offense. Now, you worry about the age, right? He's 32. You give him a 3-year deal. You're probably not loving that deal on the back end of it. So again, does he want 3 years? Does he want 4 years? And then what does that average salary per year look like? Would he be a useful player down here? Yeah. And I would love to have him, but I'm not sure that, I'm not sure that he's going to fit sort of the timetable that the Marlins are looking at.
Yeah. So the Yankees paid him 2 years and $24 million. So it was a 12 million per year contract. Not bad for him and for everything that he gave him. So he's probably wanting more now that he showed that he can hit also in the American League outside of Coors Field. So what do you think, Christian?
If we get DJ LeMahieu, I will throw a party. This guy is legendary. He gets on base. He doesn't strike out. He's not a defensive liability. He does everything right. And we saw that this year. He was put in a position to thrive on the Yankees. And yes, he had a lot of leeway, in the lineup. Pitchers have to worry about Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton. but he's been putting up these numbers for years. You know, he was an MVP top 3 this year, and rightfully so. He deserved it. I mean, he led the league in average, and it seems like the trend is going up for him. It doesn't seem like the age is necessarily an issue, and age never really is an issue for guys that get on base. You know, because that's an acquired skill, not necessarily something that it goes with time. You know, you get on base, you can still walk, you hit singles. He's not hitting for power. He's doing what he's meant to do. He knows his job, and he can play anywhere in the field. I mean, this guy is an amazing player. He's number 1 on my list by far, but he's probably number 1 on a lot of people's lists when it comes to what they want this offseason. So most likely not realistic, but if I get a notification in like 4 days saying the Marlins signed DJ LeMahieu, I will do so much. I would just Yeah.
So where are you right now, Christian? So we all know, and
I am at the University of Florida. I will be throwing an absolute rager in my door.
So it's like 5 hours from here, David. So you have to get up going up there. All right. Fernando Lopez says it's too expensive. He's gonna get a big raise. Well,
yeah,
it's part of
very true. That's why.
But still, I mean, it's even if it's 14 million, that's way better than the other guys that we just talked about. So not bad for a great hitter right now. Okay, let's keep going down this list. And Fangraphs has Masahiro Tanaka, a starting pitcher that played a lot of years with the Yankees. He's 32 years old. He will be looking for 2 years and around 15 to 18 million dollars per year. Hard pass, right?
Listen, the Marlins need a veteran arm in their starting rotation. I know that, when you look at Sandy and Pablo and Sixto and Eliezer, like you look at those 4 guys and you're excited about the future, right? And, even though the Marlins had a team ERA that wasn't great, when you just take the ERA of those 4 guys, it was like 3.3 something, like 3.34, 3.38, something like that. And that would have been, if that was the starting staff ERA, that would have been in the top 5. Right. So those 4 guys, you have confidence in them, even though, Sixto is still young and relatively inexperienced. You haven't really seen a full season from Pablo Lopez. You haven't seen a full season from Eliezer Hernandez, right? Sandy's the only one that's made it through a full big league year. So you need to sign a veteran starting pitcher. They might need to sign more than one veteran started pitcher. And I think I'd be okay with them bringing in somebody like Tanaka. He's going to be very familiar to the front office, right? Because Gary Denbo is there and there's all those Yankee connections. He's a crafty pitcher, right? But again, it all comes down to money. How much money is he looking for? He is getting up there in age, but he doesn't really rely on his fastball anymore. So you think he probably has a few years left in the tank. He's playoff tested, so there's that. I wouldn't be upset if the Marlins went after Tanaka, although I would understand if they kind of looked elsewhere.
What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, I agree with everything David said. I do believe that we need a veteran arm for that 5th slot in the rotation, but I don't think it should be Masahiro Tanaka because I think there's a lot of other veteran arms lower down this list that provide a similar presence veteran-wise and then also put up similar numbers for a lot cheaper. I mean, Tanaka, is probably going to be asking around $45 million per 3 years. And that's if, you get a good deal. I think there's guys we can sign for a lot cheaper that would do the same thing. I mean, it's not like his stats or his performance has been overwhelmingly good recently. So
yeah,
I like the connections. I like the pitcher he is, but I don't know if it's worth it compared to other options for cheaper.
I also think that the Marlins need to pick up a left-handed starter instead of another right-handed starter. I mean, they could bring in another righty, of course, but they traded away their only consistent left-handed starter in Caleb Smith. So I would like to see them look to add a left-handed starter to this rotation.
and we'll
Agreed.
keep going through this list to see who pops up right now. So the next one, number 8, is Ha-Seon Kim. He's a Korean player. He's 25 years old, and this is interesting because we have seen how the Rays have taken a chance with Him Choi, with Tsutsugo, with these type of players that maybe are not that famous, but that can maybe produce here in the United States. So he will be going for 4 years or 5 years, and in between 11 and 12 millions for years. So it's not that expensive, but it's a risk giving 4 or 5 years to a guy that hasn't played here in the United States. So
Yeah, absolutely. I
he
mean, that's
plays shortstop and third base. So would you guys get him?
I mean, you would take a flyer on that guy. It's all going to be about price, right? Normally, when when you take a chance on somebody, they're much cheaper than say $60 million over 5 years or whatever. It'll be interesting to see if the front office is willing to do something like this for an unproven player. He would fit the timeline a little bit better than some of these other veterans that we're talking about, right? He kind of lines up right in there with sort of the age range of the Marlins prospects and things like that. So that could potentially be interesting. And at 25 years old, he's the replacement for Miguel Rojas when Rojas kind of ages out of shortstop, right? He might even listen, if they sign him and he's a great player, maybe they put him right there at shortstop and they move Rojas over to second again, like we talked about before. It'll be interesting. Do I want them to take this risk? I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one.
Yes, we have to be risky. Yes or no? We brought a new GM. We have to do something different, right?
Yeah, we do, and this would definitely fall into the something different category.
What do you think, Christian?
I say yes. I say we go for it. All of my observations so far have been like both qualitative and quantitative, watching the player and then also looking at the stats. This is going to be completely quantitative just because I've never seen him play whatsoever. I'm not going to lie and say I watch baseball over there because I don't. But looking at his projections, right, if he's to put up those numbers, he's the best free agent on this list.
Yeah, those are great numbers. Yeah, go through them. Go through them because people are
okay. He does not. He walks a decent amount. That's fine. He does not strike out. He is projected to have a good average, good on base percentage, which is key. He is an offensive threat and he saves runs on the defensive end. If all that is true, this would be an amazing pickup. However, I don't know if it will correlate. If I'm going based off the fact that it will correlate.
Yeah, this guy looks like Francisco Lindor from Korea, right? Something like that.
So
yeah,
why not take the risk? I mean, if we get him for a price and he can put up these numbers, I'm fully for it. I think he would be a better option than Marcus Semien if these numbers are true. Although they're simply projections, they're not based on anything true.
We haven't seen him play here, and that's always a toss-up, right? You never know. Okay, Didi Gregorius is the next one in this list. 31 years old, shortstop. He's looking for 2 or 3 years, and in between 11 million and 14 million, around that number. He's 31 years old. Would you go for this guy? He's the lefty bat that we need there in the middle of the lineup, right?
I mean, possibly, but he did a lot of his damage in Philadelphia, and they've got kind of a short
against the Marlins.
Yeah, they've got kind of a short porch over there in right field. I don't know if he can replicate that like in Marlins Park per se.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this comes down to sort of philosophy, right? Do they want to give guys like Isan Diaz and Jazz Chisholm a shot at second, or do they want to sign somebody like Didi Gregorius and plug him in the middle of the infield, with Rojas, right? So if they went after somebody like Gregorius or even Semien, right, or any of the other shortstops, right, Ferry Galvis, Andrelton Simmons, any of those other guys, if they go after one of those veterans at shortstop, it kind of tells you how they feel about guys like Isan and Jazz, and even behind them, like some of the other prospects. So, if they pursued somebody like Gregorius, it would be telling, I guess, for what they think of those prospects, especially somebody like Isan. At that point, do you flip Isan Diaz as part of a a trade package to land somebody else, because you're not sending Isan Diaz back to AAA. He's already been minor league player of the year. He's got to sink or swim at the major league level. But signing somebody like Didi Gregorius, even if it was just 2 years for, $22-24 million, something like that, that kind of blocks his development and the development of Chisholm and some of those other guys. So it would tell us a lot. I probably would pass on Gregorius based on the age. And I know that he had a bounce back year, but again, I think hitting in Philadelphia kind of inflates some of those offensive numbers a little.
What do you think, Christian? Would you go for this guy?
I mean, would I like to see Didi Gregorius in a Miami Marlins uniform? Sure. But it just doesn't seem plausible again. I think there's a lot of other options out there. Plus, you're right. With the whole Philadelphia thing, the conversion to Miami, it doesn't seem well suited. We have the options. And if we are to go for a shortstop, it seems there's better options on the market right now.
Yeah, I don't know. 2 years for $13 million for a lefty guy in the middle of the lineup. I'll think about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
And he's proven here in the United States, comparing him to the other guy that we were just talking about. So
yeah, true.
Yeah, he would be a safer bet than the Korean kid. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, there you go. Okay, let's keep going. Justin Turner is the next one. Third base, 36 years old. We all know he's going to go.
He's not leaving the Dodgers.
Yeah, he's not leaving the Dodgers, and we're not signing a 36-year-old third baseman to take Brian Anderson's spot. Not going to happen.
Okay, we go past this guy, and he was just irresponsible in the World Series. So get out of here.
We don't have
Marcus Stroman is the next one, number 11. He's
I think he resigned already with the Mets. He took the qualifying offer. He's with the Mets. So
he grabbed that right after the new guy bought the team. He's like, hell yeah, I want to play with this guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 12, Michael Brantley.
No.
Lefty outfielder, 34 years old. No, not even for 1 year. 1 year, 10 million.
Why? We have a solid outfield. We have a young, promising outfield.
I don't know. You keep saying we have a solid outfield, but we kind of don't. I don't know.
Yeah, listen. I think I understand Christian's point, right? We've got all those young prospects, right? And you're never going to know if they don't play. Yeah. But I think some of them need to start in AAA, and some of them even in AA, right? So adding somebody like Brantley, I actually don't think it's a bad idea because you could get that lefty power bat into the lineup. Now at 34 years old, you're worried a little bit about maybe some drop off stuff like that. But he's a high contact guy. He's a good, he has a solid average. He's got some pop in his bat. He would be okay.
The thing is, you have Corey Dickerson there though.
Right.
Yeah. So, well, you could slide one of those guys over to right field. I don't know that that's as big of a deal. And then the other thing too would be he would be best suited as a DH, right? Because he's not a plus defender. Right. He's not good in the field. So if they have DH, right, and Ozuna is too expensive and maybe they want to move on from Jesus Aguilar, you could bring in somebody like Brantley to DH and be a lefty power bat. He's definitely an upgrade over somebody like Matt Joyce. I would say that. For
sure. Yes, of course. Okay, let's keep going. Number 13, who will be this guy? James Paxton, starting pitcher, lefty starting pitcher. Well, you were looking for David. Okay, see, he's going for 1 or 2 years, around $15 million per year. So would you go with Paxton, who dealt with a lot of injuries in there?
Yeah, I would because I don't know that he's going to get $15 million for a year. I think because of those injuries, right, and those concerns, you take a flyer on somebody like this. He's only 32 years old. The Yankees, contingent that we have in our front office, they have familiarity with Paxton. So I would like them to buy low on this guy, right, and see if you can give him a prove-it contract, right? Give him a 1-year deal in the neighborhood of 8, maybe 10 million at the most. And see if he can eat some innings for you. And listen, if he ends up getting hurt again, the 1-year deal, it doesn't come back to hurt you in the end. But I think, he has an upside that some of these other pitchers don't necessarily have. which is why, even given that injury history, he's so high up there on this list. I mean, he's a top 15 free agent this year. And it would probably top 10 when you start pulling off, guys like Stroman and some of the other ones that have already signed,
So top two pitchers because Trevor Bauer
yeah.
is the other one before him.
Right. And then what? Tanaka too,
Tanaka,
right
yes.
there with
So
Tanaka.
top
So
three,
I mean,
yeah.
you're talking about a top 5 free agent pitcher. If you can get him for 8 to 10, I wouldn't push it maybe past 12 million, just as a 1-year prove it deal. And if he's great and you want to flip him for prospects, down the line, if the team is struggling, fine. If not, I mean, at 32 years old, a little older than some of the pitching prospects that the Marlins have, sure, but definitely somebody that you could have around for a few years for sure.
Christian, you bringing Paxton to Miami now?
Yes, he is a great piece. He's the veteran lefty that we would all want, and he provides the experience. He's been there. He's pitched phenomenal at certain points. Yes, he's gone kind of on a downward trend with the injuries, but I think that 1-year qualifying deal make him work for it. Opens the door for this team to compete next year. If Kim Ng is on the path of accelerated timeline, we can win now.
Yeah.
James Paxton at 1 year, $8 million would be a phenomenal signing for this year. And if we see a deal like this, that'll probably show us the route Kim Ng is taking, like an accelerated timeline. She thinks that we can win soon. Because if we are to sign him, there'd be no other reason to do that. It would seem like a waste of money to sign James Paxton if we totally believe that our winning seasons are 4 years down the line. To sign a 32-year-old pitcher, that doesn't make any sense. But if we see a signing like this, we're probably going to be in for a fun season, and he gives us what we're looking for. The veteran presence can eat up innings and can win you games, and that's what we're looking for.
Okay, so let's bring James Paxton then to Miami. I mean, Kim is watching this, so thank you, Kim, for watching this. And she's gonna take notes and bring all the guys that you guys are saying. So Kevin Gausman is number 14 in the list. He's 30 years old.
I think he re-signed with the Giants. I think he took the qualifying offer.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Okay, let's keep going down the list. Then Liam Hendricks, relief pitching. He's 32 years old. He's looking for 3 years and from 10 to 12 million dollars. So a little expensive for
that. Yeah, I mean, I would love to have him, right? I would love to have him take over Brandon Kinsler's spot. But if you think about it, I mean, are the Marlins really going to spend 10 to 12 million dollars a year on a closer? I'm not sure that they're going to do that. They should consider it for sure. But if Hendricks is looking for 3 years, 36 to 40 million dollars, I'm not sure that the Marlins are willing to pay that, especially since, there's a bunch of relievers out there that could be had. I mean, he might be the best one, but he's probably too expensive for the Marlins at this point.
So what do you think, Christian?
Too expensive, probably. Like David said. I was going to say the same thing. Yeah. So
too much money. Okay, let's go. Number 16 is Andrelton Simmons, another option in shortstop, 31 years old. He's looking for 2 or 3 years in between 8 and 14 million dollars. So would you take Simmons?
I don't think so. I mean, at this point in his career, he's, basically a Danny Echeverria. Like, he's got a glove, but he can't really hit anymore. So I would pass on him. I mean, he's an elite defender, that's for sure. But offensively, like his offensive production has fallen off a cliff, and I think you don't sacrifice the development of guys like Jazz Chisholm and Isan Diaz for somebody like Andrelton Simmons. Marcus Semien, on the other hand, a little bit different, but not Simmons. Not for me.
Yeah. If we get Simmons, it feels like we're almost settling at that point for a free agent veteran signing. And if we're settling, we might as well just stay with what we have.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's keep going then. Jack Peterson, outfielder, corner outfielder, 29 years old. He's looking for 2 years and 10 million. So no, 2 years and 10 million per year. So it would be 20 million for this guy. Lefty guy can also be right there in right field or left field with Corey Dickerson. Would you go
He's,
for it?
he's not leaving the Dodgers.
Yeah, probably not leaving the Dodgers, but if he came loose, I would give him a look, especially if they had access to the DH, right? If you can consistently get him in the lineup, he could be something, but he's probably not leaving the Dodgers.
Okay.
In an ideal world, maybe.
Jackie Bradley Jr., number 18. He's 31 years old, and he's also looking for 2 years and 9 or 10 millions per year. So it's about the same as Peterson, but 2 years older. So what do you think?
Probably not. I mean, he's a great player, right?
He's more similar to Joyce, right? It's about the same.
Yeah, I mean, again, not great offensively. He's okay with on the defensive end. And again, we kind of touched on this with Simmons. I would almost feel like settling for a veteran like this. I would rather see one of the young guys, one of the unproven guys like Monte Harrison and Jesus Sanchez get a chance in right field versus Jackie Bradley.
Yeah,
he's great defensively. Too streaky at the plate to justify a signing.
Yeah.
Okay. We keep going. Number 19, Tommy La Stella. He plays in the infield anywhere but shortstop. 2 years and $7 or $8.5 million per year. Another utility guy. Would you go for I don't know. Would you go for him?
I mean, maybe. He's another one of those guys. He's a little bit more productive offensively. Not a great
John Birdie, but he doesnn't play outfield.
Right. Not a great
run and doesn't run as well.
So. Yeah, he doesn't have great speed. Not a great defender. But he's good with the bat. He could be somebody he could be a stopgap for Jazz Chisholm to develop. Right. You can plug him in. Maybe sign him to a 2-year deal if it's a reasonable one. Maybe 15 million over 2 years or something like that. And you plug him in at second base just to bide time for Jazz Chisholm or maybe Jose Devers or, something like that. He could be, he would be interesting. I mean, there are other names I would probably prefer over La Stella. But I wouldn't dismiss him out of hand.
I say yes.
I like him.
In my opinion, Tommy La Stella is a poor man's DJ LeMahieu, but that doesn't necessarily make him bad. He had a 5.3% strikeout rate last year, which is phenomenal. He doubled his walk rate. He's getting better. He gets on base, has a good average, can platoon in the infield like DJ LeMahieu. Yeah, he does it a little worse, but Tommy La Stella is, again, he's like one of those names that kind of doesn't get the recognition he deserves a lot of the time, playing in Los Angeles, overshadowed by, Shohei and Mike Trout. And the Angels obviously don't get the coverage past the individual coverage of Mike Trout because they're not good. But Tommy La Stella is a solid player and one I would really, really like to see come to Miami, especially at the price. I mean, 2 years, $8 million. That seems like a steal of a deal for a really good player. So I'm high on Tommy La Stella. I think if we sign him, that'd be a very good signing.
Okay, let's say hi to our friend William Garcia. He's saying hi. Let's go Marlins. Thank you, William. And City Guide. I don't know which city, but he's the City Guide. And he says just Jock Peterson is a Mattingly favorite. So
yeah, listen. Some of those Dodger connections. I mean, some of those guys they have connections to Mattingly, and they have connections to Kim Ang. She was there as an assistant GM. So there are some ties there. She definitely knows those people. Mattingly does too. So somebody like Jock Peterson. Maybe he does if he decides to leave LA. Maybe he does come to Miami.
Okay, good. You're making me excited. Okay. Number 20. This is a good one. Nelson Cruz, DH. He can hit.
He can hit. I don't understand it. He's 40 years old. I'm 40 years old. I it's wild that this guy is doing what he's doing, and at that age. But it has to be at a DH. So until the Marlins know if they have access to the DH, Nelson Cruz is going to stay in the American League.
Yeah, that's true. Well, if the Marlins. If the DH comes back, the universal DH, would you go for this guy for 1 year?
Yes.
I think I would. Yeah, you plug him in. Yeah. You plug him in there, drop him right in the middle of the lineup,
and he'll put up 30 homers, and we'll be very happy.
Yeah, and and it bides time for some of those other guys to develop behind him. I mean, I would like, if they have access to the DH, he's an upgrade over somebody like Jesus Aguilar. So
Yeah, for sure. Okay, good. We keep going, and now number 21 is Trevor May, right-handed pitcher, reliever. For he's 31 years old, and he's looking for 2 years, 5 or 6 millions, so a little bit closer to what the Marlins can go to. But would you use it for Trevor May?
yeah, listen, there's as we're getting further and further down this list, we're going to start bunching guys together, right? I mean, you look at a guy like Trevor May, you kind of group him in the same, setup with, if you can land Trevor May or Trevor Rosenthal or Kirby Yates or Brad Hand. I mean, all those guys are kind of the same almost. I mean, Hand is left-handed, right? Former Marlin. It would be fun to have him back. But, the Marlins need a closer, and Trevor May is a closer, So he would be somebody that they probably should take a look at if the price is right.
Agreed. I think a lot of these names, as we get lower and lower, are all plausible in their own sense. If they're a positional need. So like when we get into these catchers, relief pitchers, they're all guys we'd like to see in a Miami uniform, and they all tend to be on the cheaper end. So these are the names we're more likely to see. Although they're not as exciting, guys like Trevor may be who we get in Miami.
Okay. Number 22 is Tajon Walker still available? He's 28. I don't know. I think he signed somewhere. Let me check it out real quick. Check it out there.
I know that Drew Smiley signed with the Braves. Robbie Ray signed with the Blue Jays. I don't know about Walker. He might have. Let me see.
Not from what I see. I see he's still a free agent.
So free agent, 28 years old, Tajon Walker. He's looking for 2 years and around 18 to 20 million dollars. So not a bad guy. I mean,
it looks like the Tigers are close to a deal with Taiwan.
Okay, so 4th or 5th spot for Tajon Walker. What do you think? He's another righty, so I don't know.
I mean, maybe if he was available. He's got, he's not great, but not terrible, right? He would just be plugging in a veteran arm back there. And again, if he's asking for, almost 10 million a year, they probably could get somebody with like equal production at a much better price.
Right. Agreed.
I agree with you as well. Okay, Brad Hand is the next one, 23 in the list. Reliever, he's 31 years old, lefty, and he's looking for 2 or 3 years and about in between $9 and $10 million. So what do you think? Brad Hand?
I would love it. Yeah, I would love it. Lefty closer, he'd be coming back to the Marlins, right? So, it would be a lot of fun if they got some of these guys back that were here during some of the really bad seasons. But he would fill the role that they need back there. I mean, they only had one lefty in the bullpen this year. By the end of it was Richard Blyer. I mean, thank God Adam Conley never made an appearance in 2020. And he's gone. So they could definitely use a lefty arm in the bullpen. And Brad Hand would fill not only the lefty arm, but the closer role potentially.
So would you bring him just to be the closer or to be that lefty guy coming out of in any specific situation to face?
That's a tough one. If he's asking for 2 years, 20 million, because the Indians declined his option at 10 million a year, right? So he probably wants in that neighborhood again. But if he's asking for 2 years, 20 million, I think he has to be your closer at that point, right? You have to have, you're not going to pay a middle reliever $10 million a year. I mean, even though they have Yimi Garcia, who maybe could be a closer, who knows?
Yeah.
He's expensive to be a middle reliever. So I imagine if they sign him, he's going to be the closer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's keep going with this list. Jake Odorizzi, another starting pitcher, 31 years old. He's looking in between 1 and 3 years and $12 to $13 million per year. So another option for the back end of the rotation, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, not really. I mean, again, I think we're looking more for a lefty in this case to for the back end of the rotation. So he wouldn't be my first choice. I mean, Odorizzi is good. Not not denying that he can be that veteran presence. There are options I'd rather have, and to be honest, $13 million a year to be our fifth starter doesn't seem good at all. So
yeah, if they could get him at a much lower price than that, I mean, maybe even half that price. I mean, if they can get him for $6 million a year instead of $12 million a year, if that's really what he wants, then I think maybe you take a flyer on him, because they do need somebody there. He does have some injury issues, so you worry a little bit about that, because you want whoever they sign for the back end of that rotation for the 4 slot or the 5. They need to be able to eat innings, so they have to have somebody who's going to be there every 5th day on the back end of the rotation. Maybe it's Odorizzi, maybe it's somebody like Paxton. If the price is low enough, I would probably go for him, because he's a veteran presence. He's been on some good teams. He's pitched on teams that made it to the postseason. So it's definitely something to consider.
Okay, we have another message from William Garcia. I'm a season ticket holder for the Marlins. I go to every game, and I love this channel. Thank you, William.
Thank you, William. Yeah, thank you, William.
Thank you, and keep up the good work. Thank you, William. Anthony Manzano also saying hi, Alejandro, David, and Christian. He likes Corey Kluber. We'll keep going into the list to see if
Corey Kluber's there. Don't worry, we'll cover him.
And our friend I'm gonna call him Rafael because I don't know his name. So maybe looking for a swingman. No, stop. Okay, let's go. Drew Smiley, starting pitcher.
He re-signed. He signed with the Braves, I think.
Yes. Okay. Colton Wong, number 26, second baseman, 30 years old, looking for 2 to 3 years, from $7 to $10 million per year. Did you go for him?
I mean, maybe this goes back to the middle infield discussion that we were having before, right? Do you want to stunt the growth of Jazz Chisholm and Isan Diaz for somebody like Colton Wong? I mean, he's probably,
if you pay a little bit more, you get the Korean guy. Remember?
Yeah, so. I mean, he's a decent player. He's not bad. He's a good defender. But he's not going to wow you in the lineup. So he's talented. I don't know that. Do you risk the development of Jazz Chisholm for Colton Wong? I'm going to go with probably not.
I'm going to go with no as well.
Okay.
He's a good player, but.
All right. Number 27, Mike Minor. He can do both. And this is the swingman that our friend Rafael was saying the Marlins are probably looking into. So Mike Minor, starting or reliever, 33 years old though. And he's looking for 2 years in between $7 to $10 million per year. So do you like this option?
Yes, I really like Mike Minor. He was the name I circled for our top option that's realistic when it comes to being that 5th arm. This team can easily function with 4 starting pitchers, in my opinion. Teams have done it before. If Eliezer, Sandy, Pablo, and Sixto are healthy, those 4 could easily go through it. But having a 5th guy in Mike Minor, who's not only a veteran, but a lefty compared to the other 5 to switch things up, or the other 4 to switch things up, and a guy who's been consistent his entire career, right? Mike Minor. You know what you're getting out of him, but I think at this point, that's what we need in that 5th role. And he can also be long relief. He's an infinite better option in long relief than Jordan Yamamoto will ever be. Mike Minor is a guy I'm very high on, has a lot of upside. He's one of my dark horses for the Marlins to sign.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with him. I mean, I would love if they landed Minor and James Paxton. I think that would be a dynamite sort of injection of lefty talent, veteran talent into this pitching staff. And I would love it if they signed Minor.
Okay, let's keep going. Blake Training, number 28, reliever as well, 33 years old. We saw him win the World Series with the Dodgers. He's looking for 2 years and $8 to $9 million per year. Can he be the Marlins closer next year?
I mean, could he be? Sure. Who knows? I mean, he would be competing with Yimi Garcia at that point. I would assume if they brought in somebody like Training, they wouldn't be bringing in Brad Hand or, Trevor May or some of these other guys. So there are probably other names out there, although, and again, if he's looking for $8 or $9 million a year, I'm not sure that I would want to pay that. But you can't overlook the postseason experience that he's had. He's pitched in big games, stuff like that. So, a maybe for him.
Maybe. Okay. Christian?
I'm actually surprised he's not higher on this list, to be honest. I think he's definitely a better arm than some of the guys ahead of him. So I'm a little curious as to why Fangraphs has him this low, but he's a good relief pitcher. Again, I find it very hard to believe in a lot of times that a guy who just won the World Series is going to leave. I know it happens, but I don't see him leaving a World Series team to come to a rebuilding Marlins team unless we give him a lot of money. So it seems not plausible. But again, I would love to have Blake Trinan as our closer, but again, not going to happen.
Okay, sounds good. Let's keep going. We are close to 30, and then the last 20, we're going to do a rapid fire, and it's going to be yes or no, and we'll get out of it. Okay, Jose Quintana, another lefty guy, 32 years old, and he's looking for 1 or 2 years. I like this option, 10 to 11 millions as well. So if Paxton doesn't come, why not Quintana, right? He's Colombian.
Yeah. I mean, I put Quintana right there with Paxton and with Minor. He would help this. He would help this club. He would help this pitching staff. Definitely.
I agree 100% as well. I think Jose Quintana is a great option. And Anthony Manzano just commented, we're worried about the development of Jazz and Isan, but also what about the development of Trevor Rogers and Braxton Garrett? And I think there's a difference between those two because you can just throw those two guys in the bullpen to prepare and give them innings there. Whereas when it comes to to Jazz and Isan, if you're putting someone else in the field, they aren't getting innings. Whereas Trevor and Braxton can work from the bullpen and get their work in. So
I also think with Rogers and Garrett, you're looking at guys that were promoted all the way from Double-A. Isan had to be, he was 2019 minor league player of the year in Triple-A. So Isan was going to be a major league player regardless. And then Jazz would have been in Triple-A this year and might have been promoted in what would have had there been a regular season. But both Rogers and Garrett, I don't know that they get promoted, if 2020 was a normal season, they were kind of pressed into duty a little bit early. So I would imagine both of those guys probably start at the maybe Double-A, but probably Triple-A. And unless they blow them away in spring training, right? I mean, it's possible for a guy to make a jump from Double-A. We've seen it before, but again, your point about the bullpen is a good one. They could get innings there, and that's not the case for a position player. But I think those guys probably need a little bit more time at the AAA level.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, number 30 is Mark Melanson. He's another reliever, 36 years old, looking for 1 or 2 years, and in between 8 to 11 million. So another option to the closer position for the Marlins. He was with the Braves last season.
Yeah, I mean, I would take him if he's cheap enough. If for no other reason to keep him away from the Braves, I guess. Although I guess the Braves were willing to let him go. Yeah. But some of the relievers, they had their options declined. Mm-hmm. So these average salaries that Fangraphs is projecting, they're all above those numbers that were declined. So it's hard to imagine, Melanson getting 11 million a year. I don't know that that's going to happen. So if they can get him for 5 or 6, maybe, but I wouldn't pay him 2 years, 22 million.
Okay. Now we're going with the rapid fire, but I think this one deserves a little bit of discussion. Yadier Molina could be coming to Miami. He's 38 years old and one of the best catchers in the league, even though he was not a finalist in the Gold Glove, and that was a little bit of a polemic moment there. But what do you think? Yadi coming back as a catcher? I mean, Real Muto, it's really difficult. So this is the second option there, I guess. Why not Yadier Molina?
There are other names on this list I think that I would prefer over Yadi, and if he leaves the Cardinals, that's going to be so weird to see him in another uniform.
This is the second catcher only, right?
Yeah.
Have we mentioned? No. So this
No,
is
it's been Riamuto, and then it's Yadi. I mean, James McCann is here somewhere, right?
it should be. So what do you think about Yadi, Christian?
Probably not. With the age, I don't see him. I don't see him leaving. Why would he? I just don't get it. He's been there, since he's. Yeah, I don't see Yachty leaving. Also, I don't know if. I mean, he saves runs defensively, but he's kind of a liability in the lineup. And we'd basically be trading a young, like playing time wise, we'd be trading a young Jorge Alfaro, who's not necessarily a total liability in the lineup, but is a liability defensively, for a defensive catcher who's a liability in the lineup. It almost seems like we're just swapping capabilities at this point. And Jorge Alfaro probably has a higher upside at this point. So
I'm gonna throw you guys a question. Would you guys rather have Chad Wallach catching, because we need a good catcher for our starting pitchers, or would you rather have Yadi Molina back there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you'd rather have Yadi, and I think catcher is the spot where you can kind of sacrifice a little bit of offense for defense, right? Especially considering the youth of the pitching staff. He would really, really help this pitching staff, and it would be exciting to have him. It's hard to imagine that he leaves St. Louis.
Yeah. Okay. I thought this needed a little bit of a
anyone over Chad Wallach. All right.
Well, he was a starter at the end of the year, I guess. So, okay, we're gonna do rapid fire here. Number 32, Cesar Hernandez, infielder. Yes or no?
No. I say a slight yes.
You say yes. Okay, I like him too. I don't know. I mean, maybe for second base 1 year, I will get him just to give Chisholm a little bit of time to develop. So you can give Hernandez a position, and then little by little, Chisholm can take over, or Eason, whoever wins the position, whatever. Okay, next one. James McCann, catcher, 31 years old.
Yeah, I mean, if the price is right, I think he's probably the most realistic catching option. That
2 years or 6 million. It's the average.
Yeah, I think he would be an upgrade over Alfaro, and a reasonable price.
Same.
Okay,
I agree.
All right, number 34, Alex Colomer, reliever, 32 years old, 2 years, 8 million.
Yeah, I would take him as a closer for sure.
100%. Me as well.
Okay. Number 35, Jurickson Profar. He's a utility, 28 years old. It's a little bit like Birdie in 2 years, and
say no.
No.
Yeah, no. He never lived up to his prospect status.
Yes, he's hype. I remember I was back in Kansas, back in college, with my friend that was a Texas Rangers fan, and he was all pumped up by Profar, and at that point the Rangers had a great infield. So it was Ian Kinsler, Elvis Andrews, and Michael Young, and there was just no place to put him. So I don't know, it just didn't happen. He was just not that player. He never got.
No, he never got to that level, which is something that we're going to see. Listen, that's something that the Marlins are going to see too. All these guys that we've talked about that we want to see be great players or whatever, they're not all going to be great players. Right. Like all of those outfielders, they can't all be all-star level guys. Hopefully one or two of them are, but
hopefully we get Stanton, Ozuna, and Yelich seasons.
Right.
1 year again. Okay, number 36, Trevor Rosenthal, another option as a closer, 31 years old, 2 years and 8 million roughly.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, Rosenthal's 36. They have Kirby Yates at 37, who's another closer. I mean, either one of those guys would be good high leverage arms in the bullpen.
There are a lot of options in relief pitching. So
yeah,
some of these guys are going to come to the Marlins, I'm sure. Okay. Tricky one. Brett Gardner, outfielder, 37 years old. Not that tricky for you guys. I don't know.
No, I mean,
I like lefty hitting. I don't know why.
It would be nice to have a consistent lefty bat, sure, but again, to go back to what we've been talking about, would we rather have Brett Gardner in the outfielder or Monte Harrison? So we don't know about Monte Harrison yet. Maybe Brett Gardner is better, and that would help the Marlins win games.
Would you rather have Brett Gardner or Corey Dickerson?
Corey Dickerson.
I mean, at this point, probably Corey Dickerson. But listen, we can't dismiss this because of the Yankee connections. I mean,
True.
Brett Gardner, I think, even played with Jeter maybe in his last year or two. So, and then obviously, he was around when Ing was, or they selected. I think they drafted Gardner while she was an assistant GM, and he went up through their system. It's going to be weird to see him in a different uniform too if he goes somewhere else.
It looks like the Yankees, although they declined the option, are working on a different deal. So we'll most likely see him in New York again.
Okay. Yeah. Number 39, Corey Kluber, another starting pitcher, 35 years old, looking for a 1 year and from $9 to $12 million. Yes or no?
I mean, yeah, for the back end of the bullpen, if it's cheap enough, or not bullpen, I'm sorry, back end of the rotation, if it's cheap enough, yeah.
Christian?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Kluber's true. So
number 40, we have Joaquim Soria, 37 years old. I feel like this guy is 55 years old. I've been here.
He's been in here for a minute.
Yeah. I don't know how many years he's been playing, but it's a long career. Yeah, I'm good. Good job, Joaquin. You're back into it. Okay, 1 year and $7 million. Another option for a closer. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, yeah. He's getting up there in age, but relievers can be older, I guess.
Yeah, they're allowed to be older. Okay, Carlos Santana, first baseman and 35 years old for a DH, maybe if the Marlins need a DH there. $8 to $11 million is whatever he's looking for.
I mean, maybe you sacrifice somebody like Jesus Aguilar for Carlos Santana, but that might even be a push between those two.
Jesus Aguilar is I feel like much more productive at this point than Carlos Santana.
Yeah.
Okay. He does get a lot on base though. 361 is a projection for next year. He's not hitting the same as he used to do, but he does get a lot on base. And that's why Terry Francona used to use him as a leadoff. And everybody thought, what's Francona doing? Well, the guy gets on base, so that's what you need. Okay. Next one in the list, Garrett Richards. Ooh, we have a lot of former stars here in this free.
Yeah.
Garrett Richards, starting pitcher, 33 years old, 1 or 2 years, $7 to $8 million.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this. I mean, we're gotten to the point of the list where these guys are all basically the same, right? They've got Garrett Richards at 42, Rick Porcello at 43, Matt Shoemaker at 44, J.A. Happ at 45. All those guys are very, very similar in terms of what they can do and what they've done in the past and stuff. I'd be fine with, I guess, any one of them, as long as the price was right. Again, they need a veteran. They need a veteran on the back end of this rotation that's going to provide, maybe 5 to 6 innings every time they get on the mound. They can't roll out, some of the high variant, young guys, and you can't have Dan Castano go out there and give you, 7 innings, one start, and then an inning and a third the next start, because it'll ruin things.
Yeah.
So I would take any one of these like next 4 guys. Richards,
Porcello, next 4 guys are Rick Porcello, Max Shoemaker, J.A. Happ, and Robbie Ray.
Well, Robbie Ray, I think he re-signed with the Blue Jays already. So he's
Adam Wainwright's the other one. So if you bring Wainwright, you have to bring Yadi. That's just a given, right?
I mean, that'll work. They'll take a package deal, sure.
Yeah. Okay, 48 is Robbie Grossman, outfielder, 31 years old. I guess not. 2 back in the list, and we already talked about outfielders. Yeah. 49 is Brad Miller, infielder, outfielder. We saw him here with the Rays a lot of time. I don't know. Probably not a good option.
Yeah, no.
We have John Berry for all of this, so don't
worry.
Yeah. Okay.
John Berry covers all the bases.
Chris Archer is number 50, another former star here. He's looking for 1 year, 31 years old. He's looking for in between $7 and $8 million. So what
is he still hurt? Didn't he get hurt? Or did he opt out this year? I can't remember.
He had surgery. Let me see. He can rehab. Let me see. Yeah.
I want to say he opted out this year, but
yeah. I mean, listen, if he's healthy and he's, available at a decent number, why not? Again, a bunch of those, like the starting pitchers in this range, we could probably get any one of them. They might even be able to get more than one. I'd like them to pursue a lefty though. Maybe lefty and a righty, who knows? The one name that we didn't see on that list that I would be interested in for like utility infield would be somebody like Kike Hernandez from the Dodgers. You know, he would be, you know, John Birdie 2.0 to a certain extent. And he could kind of buy time at second base a little bit. Again, if Isan doesn't work out and you're just trying to wait for Jazz Chisholm to develop, you know, but we'll see.
All right. Well, that was it. That was the 50-man list from Fangraphs. Thank you to our people from Fangraphs to do all that. And it was fun. We spent here more than 1 hour talking about.
Yeah.
We let some out. So
yeah,
guys for joining.
Hold on, real quick in the comments. Anthony,
let me read some of the comments here. We have Anthony Manzano. I know we drafted Max Meyer as a starter, but do you guys see him more as a closer than a starter in the major leagues whenever he gets called up?
I mean, it's a great question. And he could probably go either way. We need to see him in the minors. Like that. Yeah. That's the thing. He could be a starter like, I don't know, Roy Oswalt was, you know, like a smaller guy, but power arms, stuff like that. Or he could shift to the closer role. But you know, so watching him in the minor leagues will tell us a lot about what the Marlins are thinking about with him moving forward.
For sure. Okay, another question, not a free agent, but would you guys have interest in Gary Sanchez? Denver connection and Yanks might be after Realmuto. Similar situation to Alfaro, though.
Probably not. I mean, he would be an upgrade over Alfaro for a little bit, but I don't know that
either. So
yeah, I don't know that he would be so much of an upgrade that, you know,
whenever he's a free agent, you can bring him as a maybe with a spring training invitation and he can earn a spot.
He can't field and his offensive production's on the decline. I'm gonna say.
So yeah, he's almost out. Okay, if MLB is going to universal DH, we already have Jesus Sanchez and Jerry Encarnacion as DH because apparently the organization is worried about their fielding. Okay, well, we haven't seen them.
I mean,
constantly in the majors, so it's
right.
Kind of a question there.
Sanchez was okay in the outfield in the short period of time that he played last year, but unfortunately he was not good at the plate. I know that Encarnacion is somebody that they've thought about for DH, and he has that kind of profile. They're probably going to have to add Encarnacion to the 40-man roster here to avoid him getting like taken in the Rule 5 draft. They have to add him. They have to add Jose Devers. There's a handful of other ones. Will Stewart, a left-handed pitcher that they have in the minors. So they'll add them to the 40-man roster soon. I think they have to actually do that by tomorrow. And then the Rule 5 draft is at the end of the first week of December, at the end of the winter meetings, you know, when a lot of this stuff is probably going to start taking place. But, you know, I don't know that either of those guys are ready to produce at the plate at the major league level.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see. We have a lot of promising talent, and hopefully they can pan out. We don't have to worry so much about the free agency. We can bring 2 or 3 key guys, and that's it. So, okay, I think this was it for today. Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us here in our Marlins Report special edition, talking about the free agents. So every time, and now that things are going to heat up, get ready, because here we have all the information that you guys need, who might be a good option for the Marlins, and hopefully the Marlins start getting some players soon so we can start talking about them here in the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. So thank you very much for joining us. Remember to subscribe to our channel. Leave your comments here. Which players you guys think should be coming to Miami? What do you think the Marlins are going to do now that they have Kim NG in charge? And are the Marlins going to bring more talent using more money, or are they going to trust their farm system? Let's see what happens now. And thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, David. Thank you, Christian. We'll be back soon sometime, hopefully with more Marlins news here on 5 Reasons. So thank you very much. Have a good one and enjoy the rest of the day and the week. Bye-bye.
Peace.